And that, let me tell you, that was my defining moment. That I said, I'm never in my entire, I cried after that, and I said, I promised myself I will never, ever be here again. Ever.
Wow.
In my life. I just asked my friends, what are you doing? And you, what are you doing? And then figured out, okay, I like that because it gives me more options. So I decided to do a Bachelor of Business degree. But I knew one thing, Richie. I knew I did not want to study in Kenya.
Can I ask why?
I just wanted a different experience. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to see what was out there. My cousins had gone to France and to the UK. And, you know, I just wanted to go out of Kenya. And it was just a desire I had that I can't quite
pinpoint
where it was from or why, but I knew that I wanted to study abroad. So I wanted to study in the US specifically. My dad was like, nope, because he studied there. He was just like, the influencer is no, you're not going to the US, choose somewhere else. So there was an uncle of mine who was a family friend who grew up with my mom, who lived in Australia. He was doing his PhD. And during the time when I was choosing universities, happened to be in Kenya. And so I had a conversation with him. My mom and I sat with him and he said, oh, come to Australia, it's fantastic, and so on and so forth. And he said, I'll help you. Actually, why don't you come to my university? It's good for these different things. He really helped me through that process. And I was like, you know what? I think I like this because I'll have a support system. Because that's where he lived. And he was married to an Australian and he had settled there. So I thought, okay, I think I can go to Australia. I wasn't excited about it because it was like maybe one or two people who from Saints were going to Australia and they were going to a different location. But I thought, you know what, let me go there. So so I signed up to go to Australia. I got accepted and I went.
When do you up and leave to go to Australia?
So this was, I was 19, how old was I? Was I 19?
Or 20? 18 plus 2?
I think I was 20.
Yeah, or just
turned
20. Yeah.
I had just turned 20.
Okay.
And it was July of 1998.
After bomb blast or before? Before. Okay, so bomb blast didn't catch you in Kenya?
I wasn't in Kenya.
Okay.
I don't believe I was. I think I went July 1998.
Okay.
And my father took me.
Had you been out of the country before that?
I had.
You had? Where had you gone?
I had gone to South Africa.
Yeah. So your mind had been opened up slightly. To see a different world from Kenya.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, just seeing a different environment, different culture, different. I was like, yeah, I want a different experience.
Okay. And also the people you're around are all talking about leaving. So maybe even that's even pushing you more.
Probably it as well.
Okay. You're so lucky that your father gets to take you. Let me say this. I was doing something called the Diaspora series on CTA where I interviewed different people from the diaspora. Waithaka says something that I'll never forget. He says the person who picks you up from the airport and what they show you is one of the most important things that happen.
Very true.
So now you had a buffer because you're going with your father. So let's hear the story.
And I thank God so much for that. I just really thank God so much for that. Like, my parents allowed me to go, but it was not, okay, here's your ticket, here's your money, take care, and have a safe life.
And why you?
It was, I am holding your hand. We're going to find out where do we buy blankets and where do we buy this.
No way.
Settle me down. I know, right?
No way.
I'm telling you. And so once I was settled, he saw my university, he saw where I'm going to be, and he said, I love you very much. I will see you soon, and left when I was settled.
So you're not going to stay at your uncle's. You're going to the residence of the school.
Yes.
You're going to be in res.
Yes.
Within the school, not even in your own house.
Within the school, yeah.
For the first year. And your father is the one who takes you. Okay. What now had you chosen as what were you going to study?
So studying a Bachelor of Business degree. It's
okay.
Like BCom.
Okay. Yeah, BCom, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Where in Australia?
I was in Perth.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Perth. And
break it down. I don't even know. I know I've heard of Perth, but tell me.
Okay, so I was in Perth. My campus was in the university is Edith Cowan University. And I stayed in the campus in an area called Joondalup. Oh, the plane.
There's like a plane that's decided it's landing over here.
Yeah, so I was in an area or a city called Joondalup. And I mean, Joondalup was just nice. You just see kangaroos hopping. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but during my time, it was, kangaroos were like dogs. I mean, like the way you see stray dogs. Australia is a beautiful country. In fact, I always said that if there's a country I can settle in, it would be...
It's always in my...
Aussie, mate. And they're just fantastic people that are authentic and just roho safi guys. Yeah, roho safi guys who are just themselves. It's the most egalitarian society I have ever experienced. My friends, egalitarian, meaning it doesn't matter what you do. Doctors, janitors, lawyers, nurses will sit together, have a coffee, have a beer, have laughs, encourage. Like who you are is not what you do or how much you make. You're all the same.
Were there a lot of international students in your school?
There were, but mostly from Asia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mostly from Asia. China, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, close to Asia Pacific.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting experience. So the story there with my uni that was my defining moment to this day was, again, my parents were young. I was how old?
20.
So how old was my mommy?
40.
Right. So you imagine paying these millions to have your child go to university at this age.
Damn.
So just think about it for a moment.
And
so there was a deal. There was a deal. My parents were like, okay, this is really expensive for us. So let's just have a conversation about this. And we agreed. And the agreement was, we will pay for your tuition. It's going to be hard for us because your siblings are now in IB and you're going to this university. And so let's agree that you're going to find a way to make money, get a job, make money so that your upkeep is taken care of, right? So we're only worrying about your tuition and maybe accommodation. But even then, try and take care of all of that, including accommodation, and we will look after your tuition. So they gave me money for 6 months, and for the university they paid. So after 6 months, Rina, you're on your own. Are we understanding? Yes. How? Of course. And so I was like, Kwani, how difficult can it be? See, my cousin Nani and my cousin Nani are doing it where they are. It can be done. But, you have to remember, I didn't, this experience that kids get at 16 and 17 working and getting a job and whatever is so important. And I'm really planning to make sure my children get that experience before they become a real adult, because it really helps. So anyway, so I hated to cook, unlike my brother and my sister. And so it was difficult for me, and I'm getting into this world where I've never seen a Hungry Jack's, which is the equivalent of Burger King. Yeah. So they have their own names and for different things, but the fast food was fantastic. Like, I didn't grow up with fast food. Yeah. So I go into this country where there's fast food everywhere, and the food is just so yummy. But their food here is very bland. I don't know whether you know that.
Meiji.
Meiji. And bosho. And I just ate out all the time. It was 4.5 months in, or about 4 months in, and I'd finished all my money. I didn't have chums. My parents had given me money for how long?
6 months.
Yes. And now it was for where?
And you're jobless?
I was jobless. I hadn't found a job. I was still
You party!
This life of freedom and just to enjoy and eating out all the time. And I held all these chums, but my bank account is just doing tit, tit, tit. And then I got a bank account that was a current account, as in I had to pay the bank money to keep my money. But who I didn't know. I just went to the first bank I saw, opened the first account I saw. I didn't ask questions. I didn't know that there's something called a current account where there are ledger fees, and there's a savings account where there'll be no fees, but I didn't understand any of that stuff. Well, let me tell you, I learned the hard way. I ended up with $3 Australian in my account. Could not even withdraw the $3. Minimum withdraw balance. Could not withdraw. And it was just drama. So now I can't buy food. I can't. So for a while, when I saw, hey, okay, my money is decreasing, I'd have baked beans and bread. For a while, that was my meal, and maybe noodles. Then now I completely ran out of money, for I could not eat. So for like 2 weeks, I'd spend time in my friends' units. We used to call them units, apartments. So we'd live in an apartment with 6 others. So I'd go to my wonderful Chinese friends. So I go to my Singaporean friend, or I go to my friend from Norway, and we'd sit and I'd be like, what was homework again? And big stories, because I know dinner is coming and they've cooked, and I eat at their apartment. But after 2 weeks, it now became embarrassing. Now, where am I going to go? I've been to everybody's. Oh my gosh, I don't have. So I didn't, this week was so rough. I ate like 1 meal in 2 days kind of thing. Then this one day, I was hungry. Because now it has been a while. I'm not eating because I have no money.
Yep.
I had not had breakfast, had not had lunch. It was now dinner time. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to just go sleep. So I go to sleep. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sleeping. So what do? Let me go to the kitchen. Maybe some elf has put something. And some elf has put something in my shelf. I open it. It's just a tin of coffee. I pour myself a cup of coffee, black coffee, no sugar, because I'm nothing.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And the worst thing about it is because I'm with 6 others. These are 6 other Aussies, eh?
Yep.
And Aussies are for BYO everything, eh? You don't share.
It's,
you know how Miros, you just like, oh, can I have your milk, thanks?
Yep.
It's not like that there.
Different
Even
cultures.
Parties,
Yep.
you carry your own meat, eh? And you go, it's a barbecue, but you bring your own nyama.
Yep.
And your own drinks. Anyway, it's different cultures. So...
And we'll talk about that, but go on.
Yeah, so I ended up eating from the bin. I saw an over-toasted slice of bread in the bin.
That somebody had thrown.
That someone had thrown in the dustbin as I was having my coffee. And I was like, by the way, there's food for me. I took a knife, a butter knife, and I scraped off the yucky stuff and the burnt sections. I had that slice of bread with my coffee, and that, let me tell you, that was my defining moment. That I said, I'm never in my entire... I cried after that, and I said, I promised myself I will never, ever be here again. Ever.
Wow.
In my life. Because I was like, how is it that I was set up, my parents, we had a conversation, they said, this is where we're at financially, this is what is for you, and even the sacrifice that they made to make it possible for me to be in that space, I knew. How could I do this? So I wrote this email to my mom, I'm so sorry, but this is where I'm at, I don't know what to do, and I've known, I didn't tell her the bin story because I didn't want to worry her.
Yeah.
But she ended up selling a business that she had in South B. She had a studio. She sold it, and all that money, they didn't use a single penny. They were in arrears, and she sent it all.
What?
To me. That thing broke my heart so many times over. And I can tell you, I struggle to ask them for anything today because I knew the sacrifices my parents have made for me. Anyway, I don't want this thing to be too heavy.
No. I've had this story, but I've not had that second bit. First and foremost, I want us to just spend time on this story. The reason being is because I know what it is. I've been in South Africa for university with 0 bob. And what your parents have done. They've set you up. They've given you everything that other kids are working. Other kids are even paying their own fees. Yeah. You at least you've been
right.
You have a leg up. You know what I mean? Mine was just different because I was wasting it on booze at least. So your uncle, you had somebody there. What would that was not an option?
So he was. I was, when you've done something wrong, he was so proper. He was so, I was ashamed about where I was. I was so ashamed that I could not talk about it. Nobody knew. Even telling my mother, sending that email to say that
was the last option.
Was just, I felt so horrible doing it. But it was the last, what would I do? There was nowhere I could go. I hadn't found a job yet.
So you were looking, exactly.
I hadn't started looking.
Okay, you started
I'll
looking.
just be honest. No. But eventually, after that, I decided I'm going to be a residential assistant. This is what happens in student housing. there's jobs you can get. Well, when you're in university, there's different jobs that you can get to help. So if you want, we used to call it an RA. You can be an RA where you're basically like a caretaker in Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, similar to a caretaker. Make sure apartments are okay, people are not making noise, if there's any issues, it's you, the students, tell, and then you liaise with the administration. And for that work, you get free accommodation. So I started by getting that.
Okay.
So now my accommodation was taken care
That was your first job?
Yes.
Let me also ask, at this time you're allowed to work?
Yes, I am allowed to work for 20 hours a week.
Because that's another thing. There's a limitation on how much work, or so your visa allowed you to work, but allowed you to work. Is it just explain the work visa that you had, the student visa that allowed you to work?
It's a student visa. It's not a work visa. It's a student visa, and that student visa at that time allowed you to work for 20 hours a week. But I was having so much fun. I was like, I'll get to it. So these jobs are available. I'll get to it.
Yeah.
And then I ran out of money. I started looking for a job just when I recognized I'm running out of money, but I didn't get the job as quickly enough.
I get it.
I ended up getting the residential assistant job, but you see, there's no cash they give you. It's the fact that you don't pay rent, which is a huge amount.
Yep.
So you will not pay rent, but still I needed cash. So I ended up now going around looking for work. So I don't remember what specifically was my first job, but I remember cleaning. I think the cleaning job was my first one. So I went into the paper, they advertise all these jobs in the newspaper. So I managed to get a cleaning job where I cleaned houses. And so the first one I had was, and a friend of mine helped me get this job, showed me the ropes, register with this agency, blah, 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 they'll call you. So.
But Rina, in your life in Kenya, you'd never cleaned as a career.
Not as a career. In my house I did, in school I did, right? But as a career, no. I've never even imagined I would do that work.
So the second mentality change that you get is you're going to start at the bottom. Like you're going to be, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but you're going to be the moch. You'll be the house help.
But at that time you don't even see it that way. You're so desperate for
I like that.
money. That
you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. And then there are other people who are from different countries, from Zimbabwe and from Uganda and from Tanzania and from Kenya and from so many other different places and from Malaysia and from Singapore who are doing all kinds of things. And so you see what they're doing and you're like, by the way, I can't just be sitting on my bum. Of course, there's those whose parents can afford, like there's one who's, I think the dad was the king of I don't know which island. So this guy just was a baller. Anyway, so.
Community, Kenya, at this time, when I went to SA, the Kenyan community was tiny. Yeah. It's not what it is now. Yeah. I can imagine if that's SA, how was Aussie now?
Australia, I think the 50 Kenyans in the whole of Australia. We were so few. So yeah, we didn't quite, but they were there. I mean, they were there, maybe like 10 of them where I was. But they were there. But
the community in essence wasn't in existence.
No.
Whereas even Kenyans,
until we meet as Kenyans,
you had a Kenyan society within the school.
No.
But you've got this other international culture that I want to. I know we don't worry, we're continuing the story, but I want to understand. Now you're the minorities. By that I mean blacks. Blacks are the minorities. Is racism a factor?
No, it wasn't. I never felt that it was. Okay. I just remember feeling very black. Like I am not their color, because so one of the jobs that I ended up getting was an assistant in a shop. So I was in a gift shop where I would sell, and so people would walk in, mostly pensioners. So Perth was a city for pensioners and students, mainly. Yeah? Yep. So majority of very old people and people in school. And so these ladies would come in, oh my gosh, you have such beautiful skin, and can I touch it? Oh wow. And I'm like, hiya. There's one time I entered a bus and there was a kid on the bus and this child was scared, like an animal has entered, like afraid, like they've never seen a black person in their life. Yeah. So you get the picture, So there was not many black people. The only black people that they saw were Aborigines. And Aborigines are not everywhere. Different. They also have their areas where they stayed.
Yes.
So
okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a racism factor that you felt?
I never experienced racism where I was.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so your friends at this time, your friends are from all over the world. I mean, in terms of that community that you told us. Yeah. Tell me, what about class, school? Are you enjoying? You know, when you talked about IB, you were like, man, I loved school.
Yeah.
It's like you enjoyed the actual going to school.
Yeah.
What about in this now?
I loved it. I think I loved it so much because it was so different. So first of all, our lecturers were so approachable. These guys would come into class with shorts and a t-shirt. Lecturer. This thing of you have to wear a suit and a tie.
Like a bow tie.
These guys would come, sit on the table, and let's have a conversation.
Nice.
And the lecturer will be like, okay, so today we are talking about toilet paper over or under the roll. Come and tell us why not. You know, silly things like that. But you're practicing critical thinking, presentation skills. When it was class time for so when I studied in Australia, I did a double major, marketing and finance. Fantastic mix. The finance I found hard. Marketing I found fun.
The finance you found hard?
I found very hard. But there's aspects of finance that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But then the stuff that I found really hard.
Accounting
like economics.
side. Okay.
Yeah, especially economics. I just found, these things, supply, demand, oh God. I didn't enjoy it.
I love decode.
I'm telling you, imagine I didn't. And then
the
marketing it was just a bash. Like I loved it, the marketing, advertising, and just those classes I really enjoyed.
Okay.
And I think the delivery of the class was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I remember on one of my holidays when I came home, I said, I want to experience being in class in Kenya. So I came home and school was still in session. And so I called up one of my friends and I said, I want to come to school with you, Jimo. He was in...
USIU?
No, D-Star.
Okay.
So it was like, sawa, come to this campus, we'll get the bus, go to, is it Athi River? No, it's Athi River.
Yeah, it's Athi River.
Yeah, to the Athi River campus, and I spend a day with me. Hey. I was like, this is cool. I felt like I was in high school. The teachers were on the board, and guys are full. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, in school, it was, okay, this is the assignment, this is what we're doing, read this to this. Class was conversations with the lecturer. And this one says, no, I don't think so, or the other, or we'd have a guest lecturer, or whatever, it was very interactive. But my experience, so first of all, we're starting with devotion. I found that very interesting. Of course, that's D-Star culture.
Yes.
And then we're going to do this, and this needs to be silent. I was like, the treatment of students was very different culture-wise here. At D-Star specifically, and where I was. But it was just a very interesting experience.
I think you're so ahead to even ask. Your mind, I could see, was maturing, and there's something amazing about your mind that you'd come and not be like, turn up! But the first thing, I mean, not the first thing, but one of the things that is on your list to do is, I'd like to experience school here.
In Kenya.
Yeah, that's powerful. So I want to stick a little bit about this path. Now let's talk about your work experience.
Okay.
Because now you get to start grinding. So your first job was cleaning places.
Yes. My first job was cleaning.
How was that first paycheck?